You are understanding that you are vibrational beings, even more than this stuff you see. You are electrical, electronic transmitter receivers, and that you have emotional guidance system within you to help you read that vibration, and that you are extensions of source energy. And when you are truly allowing your connection, your electrical connection, you feel wonderful. And you can feel when you are summoning the current of your source, the power of your desire makes the difference. Not focused desire, not very powerful. Strong focused desire, very powerful. In other words, you can feel how focused you are and how much summoning of that source is going on within you. You understand that desire is just that. The desire is the summoning of source. And so when you ask, it is truly given. And the reason that it is truly given is because desire is the summoning of source. That you out here on the leading edge, chewing on the contrast, coming to preferences and conclusions and decisions and desires, that as you focus that way, that you summon source and you can feel the summoning of source. That's what passion is. That's what eagerness is. That's what that feeling of energy moving is. So, if you have a desire that is very focused, so you are summoning source, and you are in alignment with that desire. In other words, you believe it, you expect it, you anticipate it, you are at one with it. Then, there is no resistance. In other words, that feels so good, doesn't it? Passion, without doubt. And if you have desire that is focused, and a habit of thought or belief that doesn't quite match it, then you can feel the resistance effect of all of that. And that's what negative emotion is. Negative emotion is what it feels like when you are summoning and not fully allowing that which you are summoning. So as you begin to feel your connection with Source, and you begin to feel your relationship with your own desires, then you can focus, massage, mold yourself into vibrational compliance with yourself. In other words, that's what your emotions are all about. They are to help you know how much of you you're really allowing in this moment. You see a child, happy, laughing, interested, eager, energetic, and you say, he's full of himself. And we say, yes, he is. He is full of himself. He's summoning through the power of the interest of his focused life. And he has not yet picked up so many beliefs that hinder him. And so he is full of himself. And that's what we wish for all of you. We wish for you moment by moment to be more full of yourself. And when you are, then you would describe yourself in these ways. You would say, I'm interested. Or you would say, I'm joyful. Or you would say, oh, I'm happy about that. Or I'm so looking forward to this. Or isn't this a fun thing? Or you would say, I can't wait for what is coming. And yet I'm pleased with what is. That's what being full of yourself is. It's recognizing that you never get it done. That there will always be something new to focus upon, and there will always be the bursting forth of another new idea. So when you're full of yourself, you understand that there is no ending to the ideas of desire that will be born within you. The entire universe is established to produce that. That's why we are eternal. If we could get it done, we would be done. If we could ever stand in a place where the last great idea had happened, we would all be done. Because there would be no more summoning forth into this leading edge place the energy to support the new idea. But that can never happen. The entire universe is established to produce the new idea. And we notice sometimes as we see you in your physical form out here on the leading edge, you are precious to all that is, that sometimes you're not at one with the eternalness of that which you are. You seem to think that you are incomplete and you are reaching for completion. And we say, give it up. It will go better for you. Sometimes we see you standing in this place where you are feeling dissatisfied in the incompletion of something, believing that in the completion of it, you will feel better. And we will even go along with that because it's fun to identify things that you want and then to bring them about. It's fun to see manifestation occur. But when you want you to be done, that's where it goes wrong. In other words, it's wonderful to say, I have this idea and I would like to see it to fruition. As long as you say, and there will be another idea. It's wonderful to say, I would like to complete this project. As long as you understand, there will always be another life-giving project. Sometimes we see you translating the feeling of discouragement about the incompletion of a project across the board as if you are discouraged about you not being complete, as if this unfulfilled desire somehow reflects poorly on you. And all we would say about that is that it just indicates that you're not yet, for whatever reason, there are many of them, a vibrational match to your own desire. Usually the reason that you are not a vibrational match to your own desire is because you've practiced thoughts that don't match it so long that you can't seem to easily offer a thought that does match it. You might say things like, well, I can hardly believe that, or I've thought this as long as I can remember, or that's the way my mother thinks, or that's just the way it is. And we are wanting so much for you to realize that nothing is just the way it is because that's the way it is, because everything that is the way it is the way it is because somebody thinks that's the way that it is. There is no fact apart from somebody's belief. None. So you say, oh, but there are all these facts. And we say they're just beliefs that have been practiced. And a lot of those beliefs really serve us all well. In other words, we are not for a moment suggesting that you have only beliefs that aren't helpful. Most of your beliefs are extremely helpful. Most of what you anticipate and expect serves you. Look at your lifestyle here in this environment. It is remarkable what you have come to expect as those before you have expected, each expecting a little more. In other words, your expectation is powerful, and your lifestyle reflects that. We also notice that you have some beliefs or expectations that you could do without. But you can't get rid of a belief. Because in this universe that is inclusion-based, whatever you're giving your attention to, you're including in your vibration. So you can't get rid of it. Some good terms that we are wanting to speak clearly here today that we believe will take you leading-edge creators further into clarity about deliberate creation. You have beliefs that are only thoughts that you keep thinking. That's all a belief is. It's just a practiced thought. And it's so well practiced, it's sort of like the route that you drive to work. You sort of always go the same way, even though there are endless choices. Jerry and Esther have a global positioning satellite attached to their vehicles, and it doesn't matter how many wrong turns they take, because Jerry is always wanting to test Magellan. He will say, she wants to go, it's a woman's voice. She wants to go this way, but I think we should go this way. And so Esther will say, Magellan, Jerry, Magellan, Jerry. Who should I follow? So she goes the way Jerry wants her to go, and Magellan will say, make a U-turn for a while, and then she finally gives in and says, all right, if you want to go this way that I would not have chosen, now I will redirect you from where you now are. And so she will say, I've found you. She doesn't actually say that, but her needle points in that direction, and then she begins to speak again. She does not make them go back to their point of diversion. She regroups from wherever they now are and makes a new plan. And that's the way we want you to begin to think about your beliefs. You can make a new plan because there are many, many ways to where you are wanting to go. And sometimes the route that you have defined as the best route isn't. And you can tell, and only you can tell, as you compare where you are to where you have decided for now that you want to be. And it's a never-ending changing process. In other words, you get to change. Source energy will assist you as often as you like. There is no end. There are many more than 3 wishes. There is no end to the universe's ability or willingness to yield to you that which you are asking for. So, as we see you standing in your now, we can feel within you vibrational patterns that could be called beliefs. We would like to soften that by just calling them dominant thoughts. And we want to help you to realize that the reason that they are dominant thoughts is only because you've practiced them. You've made them dominant. And they're not dominant because you've practiced them for a long, long time and all those years add up to something like a big bucket of heavy thoughts. In other words, it's not like that. You are an in this moment transmitting and receiving mechanism. And so the only thing that we're talking about when we talk about dominant thoughts or beliefs is your propensity to think that way. You get that? In other words, it's not that there's this big bucket of thoughts that now you've got to change one at a time or get rid of. It is that you have this habit of thought, this propensity to think this way, that you can change much more easily than you currently believe. So, for example, when you think about the subject of dollars, does the subject of dollars or financial abundance, does it feel to you like freedom and excitement and anticipation of that which is to come? Or does the subject of dollars feel to you like worry or struggle, uneasiness? You can tell. In other words, sometimes people will say, well, it's a little bit of all of that. And we say, but you can tell which of those is most frequent. You can tell which of those choices is the dominant thought. When you think about your predominant relationship, does it feel like fun and fancy and freedom and joy, expansion? Or does it feel like hard work and struggle? You know. There isn't anyone who cannot answer that question easily. When you think about your physical body, does it feel hearty or tentative? Does it feel good feeling, flexible, free? Or does it feel a bit bound, worrisome? You can tell. Now we know there are some mixtures, but we want you to just for a little bit focus upon which is dominant, because when you understand which is dominant, all that means is that's the likelihood of the route you're going to take. So if something in your now, contrast, helps you to conclude a desire about your body or about your dollars or about your relationship or about anything, and as those desires are born, it activates right away whatever vibration you've practiced most. It's like picking up a stick that could vibrate on either end, and whichever end you've been practicing the most begins to vibrate. So what we are suggesting to you is that sometimes as you introduce to yourself a new desire, the belief that you've practiced doesn't harmonize with it. And that's when you begin to feel that negative emotion. That's when you begin to feel doubt or fear or uneasiness. In other words, that's your indicator that you are not in alignment with your own desire. That's a powerful statement, alignment with your own desire, because when you line up with you, all things are a go. In other words, when you line up with you, oh, that is so important to understand. The only thing that you need to do is line up with you. You don't have to line up with anything else. You don't have to get the world to agree with you. You don't have to understand what the world understands. You just must be in alignment with you, because universal forces are yielding to you your desire, and as long as you are a match to your desire, then there is no resistance, and there is easy manifestation or physical compliance with the idea that you have set forth. So it is a lovely thing when you begin to consciously be aware of what your dominant vibration is. Now, when we talk about a dominant vibration, the other word that we want to exaggerate and emphasize here today is activate. Because, as we said earlier, you don't have this bucket of beliefs that you need to deal with. You have these potential